Friday. We are into day 10 of the Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge. How fast 10 days flies by, right? Incredible. Anyhow, today our prompt is Bee Balm. And I came in here today with an idea of what I thought was going to work. I literally sort of dreamt about it in the middle of the night. I have these corks. I don't remember what wine they came from, but I have several of them. And I thought, well, what if I took a knife to the top portion of it and I split it up into the petals of a bee balm and then just kind of spread them around with my fingers. So I experimented with that. I did that to this cork here, my trusty craft knife here. It sort of worked, but a lot of pieces are falling off. It's kind of hard for me to cut it precisely. So it's not very well cut, and I don't know that I could cut it precisely. And I'm trying to push it apart so that it will look like bee balm. And it looks like I would be able to do that. It's going that way. But I'm afraid it's going to be a little brittle because pieces are falling off as I'm doing that. So, and then I thought, oh, how the heck am I going to stitch through this in order to put it onto my substrate, which is a clear plastic lid? And I decided that this was too much work. It's not going to work. So, I'm not giving up on these. I'll figure out a way to use them in something else, but it's not going to be for bee balm. So I have a whole ton of these straws. Unfortunately, my daughters are addicted to Dunkin Donuts coffee, but luckily they've been saving the straws for me, and I've been putting them through the dishwasher with all the other stuff, so they're clean and I can use them. And I've used them numerous times. And I also have this red straw. So what I did is I cut up these straws into pieces, and I split part of it into these little strands. And I'm thinking that I will combine these straws together and make them bee balm-like. I think ideally I would like to have 3 bee balm florals on here. So I'm going to cut apart another straw. And I'm sort of just eyeballing it about 2 inches. And these straws are pretty narrow, so I need to use my smaller scissors to cut them. Hey, welcome everybody. I hope you're sharing when you see this, sharing your creations for Earth Month. I just realized I forgot to press record up here. That's for my YouTube video. So anyhow, yes, I keep forgetting to press record. Sorry about that, people who are watching on YouTube. But anyhow, I am cutting up these straws, and then I'm splitting about half of them with a sharp pair of scissors. I'm sort of cutting them into narrow strips. So starting to do that. Trying to keep it somewhat neat, but not worried about it too much. Because it would be a very slow and deliberate process to cut them perfectly. And then I'm just sort of pushing them with my fingers. And they're staying pretty well, you know. I could also take them and push them against the table and sort of squish them down like this, or against my palm. And they spring back up, but not too much. And there's one here I see that I could cut a little finer. So I am thinking that I can layer the red straw that I already split and the orangey straws. And if I layer several of those, I will get a nice bee balm. So I have 2 size straws, and I think that looks really good. I feel like I could use, I have a thinner straw that will go inside of this kind of straw. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut a few of these, and then I will have 3 different width straws that I can put into one inside the other, and that will be my Bee Balm. And I think I should be able to get these sharp scissors through here. Yeah, I can do that. So I'm just cutting them sort of like, I guess, 1/8 of an inch wide strips, about a little more than halfway down the piece of straw that I cut. And you saw I wasn't measuring. I'm just kind of winging it all. I think if I measure it, then it becomes a little too perfect. And, well, I think perfection can be overrated sometimes. So yeah, this little guy will go inside of this one. Oh, I like that. So see, it becomes a very fluffy, I guess I could do even more. I could do another one. I can do another thin straw and just kind of wedge it in there. Let's see if that works. Because then that will make for a really fluffy Bee Balm looking flower. Again, not perfectly anatomically, botanically correct, but enough to give an impression of Bee Balm. And that's pretty much what I'm looking for. Not looking for perfection, just looking for a likeness. That is all. So I hope those of you who are participating in the challenge will not forget to, I'm going to split this straw so I can squish it together a little tighter to get it into the smaller straw that I have in here. Did that work? Yes, that worked. Okay, so there we go. So that makes for a really fluffy, good Bee Balm. So 4 layers of straws. I think I'm going to stitch these together before I stitch them onto my base, because I think it's likely they'll fall apart if I wait. So I'm going to try to stitch them all together. I think I'm going to take a stitch through the inside, and that way I'm kind of be able to catch all, and having a metal thimble really helps to pull through this. Oh, I think I'll just be able to take just a couple of stitches will do. I don't think I need too many stitches. I got my thread tangled in here, of course. Come on, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of pierce my straws a second time without piercing my fingers. I am very good at piercing my fingers. A little too good at it, as a matter of fact. All right, so this is where the pliers come in to help me pull the needle through. Oh, as I was saying before, I hope that those of you who are participating in this challenge are sharing your work here on Instagram publicly, and don't forget to tag me, either me at Art by Natalia or me at the Repurposed Art Collective, so that I can share your work and we can all celebrate our work together. Hello, hello. Oh my God, Jessica, you're on Instagram? How nice to see you. Okay, so I'm piercing through this a second time, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and stitch this Bee Balm onto my substrate. Nope, need help pulling the needle through. I can't believe how fast time is flying. So now the question is, do I want to stitch it on, like this, sort of sticking up, or do I want to stitch it on? I think I want to stitch it on like this, because then it'll go with the rest. I don't know if you can see, I have my previous ones all in a row here, and they all sort of have this relief about them. So yeah, I think I'm going to stitch it right like this, so they're sticking up partially away, but they're not sticking up. This one needs a little more pressure to make these pull down. Okay, so I'm going to stitch them on like this. Yes, I'm liking this little Miss Bee Balm. Come on, get in there. If I'm only going to stitch it down through like sort of the stem area, I think it'll hold up and I won't have to stitch it through the top. I think. We shall see. It's all an experiment. Yeah, I think that works. I'll take one more stitch for safety's sake, and I'll pierce this one through all the straws, or most of the straws anyways. And I'm just using a variegated embroidery floss, and I'm going to tie it off in the back. Okay, one Bee Balm flower done. I'm pretty pleased with it. What do you think? What do you think? So far, so good. All right, so I'm going to construct the other. I would think I like the number 3. I think 3 looks really good together. So I have my wider red straw, and then I'm putting in the wider orange straw in it. And now I need 2 of the thinner. Here's another piece. Here's 2 thinner straws. I still need to cut these. Yeah. So I'm just slicing about halfway, a little more than halfway down into the straw. And I am cutting into sort of about 1/8 of an inch strips. Not worrying about perfection, just slicing them down. And then I'll be able to push them apart. And I like actually that each one of them is not a perfect strip. It's a little bit wonky. And I kind of think about that Bee Balm. If you look at Bee Balm, it kind of feels a little hairy, so to speak. It's not perfect. It sort of looks like it could use a good brushing, usually like my hair. So I'm liking the wonkiness of it. So I'm cutting the second narrower straw, and I'll split that one in order to squish it together so it'll go inside the other narrow straw, because it's the same straw. So I just got to make it a tiny bit smaller so it'll fit inside. Okay, there we go. So this narrower straw is going to go inside. Oop, I forgot to split it a little bit. I'm going to take a snip to it, squish it together, and now it fits inside of this one, and it'll fit inside of the other 2. And that will be my second little Bee Balm. All right, now I just got to make sure to keep it all together and pierce it with my needle. I'm actually going to use my work table for an assist. There we go. Did I pierce through it all? Yes, I think I did. I'm going to do one more. So there. I pushed it through. Now I got to just kind of do it here. I'm going to use the table for an assist again. So my table has a self-healing cutting mat on it. So I'm not actually ruining my tabletop. Not that I would really care about the work table being ruined, but the self-healing mat on top of my table is a really nice thing for me anyways, because I like to be able to cut on my table and not have to worry about it. So this mat has seen a lot of activity. Okay, so there's my other little Bee Balm flower, and I am going to stitch it on here. So I'm going to make them somewhat off center, so they're a little more pleasing to the eye. I like when things don't match up well. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Trying to not pierce my fingers and wave to you at the same time. It's not an easy job, but somebody's got to do it, right? Okay. Oops. It's got a little tangled. Let's untangle it. Okay. So here's my second little Bee Balm. I'm going to move it to the side a little bit and then stitch it on. Hello, hello, Gratitude Quilter. What a cool name. What a cool name. Okay, so this is my second Bee Balm. And trying to push through the same hole so I don't hurt myself too much. Using pliers to help. Okay. Well, this one seems a little wonky. I think this is going to need another stitch down here. It seems to want to move on me, so I'm going to pierce it through these straws again and try to not pierce myself. So my little Bee Balm artwork can take shape without me drawing blood. Okay, tying off the thread in the back. So there's my two little Bee Balms already. Let me push these down. I think these are going to need a little bit of me squishing them down to make them work. But I love how colorful they are, right? They're fun. So I'm going to make one more because 3 is a good number. I'm going to prepare my strand of floss and tie it off already. So I have the red one already done. I pre-cut that during my experiment. And for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, my first experiment was with these corks that I have. They're not natural corks. They're some kind of a plasticky cork. I don't even know from what wine they came, but I have a few of them. And I had the thought that I could slice through the cork and make it into Bee Balm petals and spread them out. But I couldn't slice them through it in a good way. Like, it's made a mess. And the more I work on it to make it open up, the more little pieces fall off. And then there's no way I could have stitched this on. Well, I'm sure there was a way that I could have stitched this on, but it would have been a little more difficult to stitch it onto my lid. So I gave up on that. So I have a shredded cork, but I'll figure out what to do with it. So yes, straws are best in this, for this idea. All right, so I already have a pre-cut bigger straw, but actually I only want to make one more. So I'm going to take my other 2 pre-cut straws and I'm just going to snip them to make them smaller in order to fit into the straw that is already here. I think maybe for this one I'll do another one too and snip it. I might even snip it twice on the bottom to really make it small. Can I do that? Will it fit inside? It does. It makes for a nice, really fluffy Bee Balm, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I like it. Okay, so now I just need to take a stitch through it. Oh, that's right. The very first Bee Balm flower, I took a stitch from the inside, and that worked really well. I wish I had remembered that with the second flower I did. All right, at least I remember it with the third. So I will pull this through. I want my knot to be on the inside. Is it going? Trying to see it. Yes, there it is. It's on the inside. And I will take a second stitch right through it all. Okay, and now I can stitch it onto my lid. So my lid, hello, hello, welcome, stitching Bee Balm. So yeah, see how I like the number 3, so it fits really well with the with 3 little Bee Balm flowers. Do I want to center it, or do I want to give it off to the side? I think I kind of like it off to the side. Centered and matchy-matchy is out for the day. All right, trying to not pierce my fingers. Oh, yeah, I'm going to need my table. Pushing against my self-healing mat on the table to help me push through this. And using pliers to help me pull the thread out. And that's going to be, and then I'm going to take a stitch through just the clear plastic and go around to tie it on. But I think it will need just one more stitch through all the straws. Let's see, using the table again. Trying to save my fingers. Okay. All right, that's good. So now I'm just going to take a stitch to the back, and then I'll tie it off in the back. Okay. These little guys are going to take some manipulation and to get them to stay where I want them to stay. But not bad so far. Look at my 3 little Bee Balm blossoms. I'm going to force them to stay where I want them to stay. Trying to spread the petals down. I think probably I will need to go back and make the petals stay a little more. I'd like them to stay like this forever, but I have a feeling they will spring back as time allows them. So I may need to be coming back to this little artwork and spreading the petals over and over again until I finally win. But I'm pretty pleased with them. So here's my little Bee Balm for day 10, April 10th of the Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge. So I hope you're participating too and sharing and tagging me so I can share your artwork. 10 days down, only 20 more to go. We've got this, right? All right, thanks for being here today. See you later. Have a great weekend.